All right, man, peace. The Golden State Warriors seem to have an issue with motivation this regular season. And I know that it's tough to assert that, seeing as they're 30 games over 500. Kevin Durant, predictably, has decided that he's going to take the everyone hates us route, which one would assume would come from him and Draymond Green, and may even trickle down to Steph Curry, because many times teams that are vying for a third championship in 3 years, or in this case with the Warriors, a third championship in 4 years, they're suffering from galvanizing themselves too much. Sometimes when you over galvanize yourself and you're a totally self-motivated person or entity or team, what have you, you start to burn out. And now you have to look for outside threats, whether they be real or perceived. Anyway, they're going to talk about it and I'm going to chime in.
Steve Kerr allowed his players to coach during timeouts in Monday's win over the Phoenix Suns, and it took a lot of heat for it. A move Kevin Durant doesn't think was a big deal, telling Bleacher Report, quote, "Everybody just loves to hate on the Warriors. Whatever we do, they don't want to just say they hate us. So they're going to make excuses up on why they don't like us or why it was disrespectful. Who gives a bleep?"
Let me say this. Do I think that everyone literally hates the Warriors? No. I think that many people are jealous of the Warriors, just as people are generally jealous of successful people. Why is that? Because most people do not have the ability to motivate themselves and focus on what they do well in order to achieve their own success. So they spend more time trying to tear down those, whether it be an individual or a team, that do scrutinize themselves, find what they do well, discern what they like, formulate a plan. And let's be quite real, Golden State has been rather unabashed in asserting that they're smarter than everyone, that they're better than everyone. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, they do showboat. So there's a little bit of validity to what Kevin Durant states. There's a little bit of validity to those who may state that Golden State deserves the vitriol that they may be receiving, whether real or perceived.
Max Kellerman, it is a good thing that the Warriors are hated.
Of course. And to quote the great Rakim, before your time, Molly,
Okay.
Eric B. and Rakim.
Yep. Oh, well.
Come say hi to the bad guy, don't say goodbye, I don't plan to die. Kevin Durant is embracing the bad guy role. He's embracing the villain role. Oh.
Max Kellerman is desperately trying to hold on to that little vestige of Wiggle White Boy that he had from the late 80s into the early 90s. It's so damn pathetic. Just embrace your inner banker. Just rob some family of their mortgage and keep it moving, all right?
Oh, you guys are going to hate on me for what I did? Great. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We're not, he is the reason people hate the Warriors.
No, that's not true. Actually, people started to hate the Warriors down the stretch of the 2015-2016 season. It's mostly due to Draymond Green. Many fans of other teams also started to turn against Steph Curry, who was recognized as the golden boy of the NBA and the mainstream sports media. In the 2016 playoffs, when Curry got injured and came back, that may have been the worst thing to happen to his legacy. I've touched on this in the past. Had they won the championship that season, there would have been many trying to assert that he is one of the top 15 players to ever play, maybe even top 10. I remember that season. ESPN came out with a ranking of all-time point guards, and they had Steph Curry over Isaiah Thomas. This was before the 2016 season even ended. Now, we're in 2018. If we were to debate Steph Curry versus Isaiah Thomas, I think that it would be much more viable, seeing as Steph Curry has 2 MVPs. He also has 2 championships. Isaiah Thomas has 2 championships. One could gander that maybe Isaiah Thomas should have been considered for the 1989 or 1990 MVP award, seeing as his teams won the championship that season. But Isaiah never put up the shooting stats that Steph Curry has put up, and Steph Curry never put up the assist stats that Isaiah Thomas put up. It's a decent debate, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to put Steph Curry in the top 20 all-time players just yet. Him and Durant are in my top 30, definitely, maybe top 25. I have not really thought out that deep. But that 2016 playoff run certainly cost Curry in esteem. particularly when the fans started to turn against the Warriors, and that's natural. When you're cast as the favorite, that makes you prone to even more scrutiny. People start to nitpick. Why? Once again, jealousy and envy. And then you had the tomfoolery of Mr. Draymond Green, donkey kicking everyone in the balls. Once again, please watch for Draymond Green and Kevin Durant this season, particularly in the playoffs. There are a couple of cherry bombs in that Warriors locker room, those two guys, those two mama's boys.
Kevin Durant's the reason.
And look at how they have their 4 players laid out there in the lower left-hand corner. Looking like a damn Oreo cookie or one of those ice cream cookies with the light brown cream in the middle. That's how they look. Got Kevin Durant and Draymond on the outside and Steph and Klay on the inside. Watch out for those two mama's boys, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, these playoffs. I have a feeling at least one of them are going to detonate. They are both very mentally fragile.
Because look at everybody else on the team. Steph Curry drafted, Klay Thompson drafted, Draymond Green drafted. They got Jerry West in there, put his body in front of a trade, Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. They didn't do anything flashy like that. Brought in Iguodala, but that wasn't like a super high premium, big time signing. It was just a smart basketball move, right?
It was a perfect basketball move. I can't think of a free agent in recent years who fits in or even fit in prior to him signing there better with a team than KD with Golden State. It's a team without a domineering personality as their best player. Their domineering personality is Draymond. And Draymond is limited and marginally talented enough to rein himself in and be forced to respect KD and Steph because they're so much better skill-wise than him. So it's a perfect mix for Kevin Durant. The alpha on Golden State is not a threat to want to take the ball from him like Russell Westbrook was.
They put it all together. Mark Jackson has these guys believing in themselves, taking shots from wherever, telling that's the best shooting backcourt ever. Steve Kerr takes...
Yes, kudos to Mark Jackson for saying that over 5 years ago. It's really amazing how that's turned out because I remember when he said it and I said to myself, wow, that seems a little bit overboard. But now in hindsight, he proved to be a basketball prophet.
Takes the offense over the top. Everything was fine. Everyone loved the Warriors then. But that went so well that when you add one of the top 3 players in the game in his prime, an all-time great in his prime to...
No, not top 3. Easily top 2 and arguably the best player right now. I would still take LeBron. But Max Kellerman keeps trying to persist with this nonsense about Kawhi Leonard being above Kevin Durant. Kawhi Leonard does not have enough in his portfolio to be put above Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been a great player since the 2011 season.
And to that team, people say timeout. You're trying to stack the deck. He's the reason people hate on the Warriors. But Stephen A. Smith, I'm here to tell you, that's good for basketball.
I agree. It's good for basketball when there are teams and players that polarize fans. That's what makes LeBron so great and Kevin Durant so great and Steph so great and Westbrook so great and Harden so great. The NBA is much more of a soap opera than the NFL. They get it. They know how to market their individual stars and their personalities and these rifts and these rivalries like Blake Griffin against the Houston Rockets and now Blake Griffin against the LA Clippers and so on and so forth.
In order to have underdogs, you need overdogs. You want the New England Patriots. You want the New York Yankees.
Speak for yourself.
You want the heavy, the team that is overwhelming with the dynasty that everyone else is aiming at.
Absolutely agree. It's great for sports. Dynasties are great for sports. Nothing like seeing an empire get toppled. When you learn about history, they basically fragment history into the telling of the tales of how empires rose and fell. That's how they tell history. Starting off with ancient Sumer and Kemet, and then moving on to Assyria and Babylon and Macedonia. In between that, you had the Persians and the Medes, so on and so forth, trickling down to the Greco-Roman Empire, the Middle Ages, so on and so forth. That's how they tell history, the rise and fall of empires. It's the same thing in sports. When they tell you about football, you think the 60s, you think the Packers, the 70s, you think the Steelers, the 80s, the Niners, the 90s, the Cowboys, the 2000s, the Patriots. That's how they tell history.
It's good for the league, and so are the Warriors.
I think you're wrong. I disagree with you on this particular situation. I don't think this is good for the Warriors, and this is the reason why. They're leading the league in technical fouls. You got Draymond with 13. You've got a situation where ultimately they have shown an inability to reel it in emotionally.
Yes, one of those two dudes, Durant or Draymond or both, are going to detonate in the playoffs, and I believe that Steve Kerr knows it, and he's scared to death of it because none of his CIA tricks are working. That's why he tried to pull the let the players coach themselves out of his back pocket. And like I stated, I believe that he's going to retire either at the end of this season or next season, because once a handler cannot control his assets, there's no need for him to be there anymore.
And compose themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that that will continue. I have faith that I'm not really worried about it. But the reason why I say stuff like that isn't good is because you certainly stir hostilities. And when you do that, but you're not poised enough to handle it, you'll find yourself in a situation where come playoff time, the game will get more physical. And then if the officials don't call the way you think things should get called, you don't know whether or not you're going to lose your composure or not. That's the only reason. It's not about, hold on, it's not about the opponent, Max. It's not about the talent, because we know that the Warriors are the elite talented squad in the National Basketball Association. They got two players averaging over 26 points. Both are shooting better than 49% from the field. Klay Thompson is your third wheel, and he's one of the greatest shooters in the history of basketball. And we know what Draymond Green and the rest of those cats bring to the table.
I do believe that Draymond Green is having a very bad effect on Kevin Durant in regards to his rapport with the referees. And that's not to say that Kevin Durant was not getting kicked out of games before he came to Golden State, because there was a stretch a couple of years ago where it was the talk of the NBA town. What's wrong with Kevin Durant? Why is he no longer trying to be a nice guy? I think he tried to reel that in a little bit, and now it has come more to the forefront this season with the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't quite as bad last year, but this year he seems to be teeter-tottering. I don't know if something's going on with it in his personal life, or maybe he feels like he has to transfigure himself as he tries to approximate what manhood is or authoritativeness is, and not allowing anyone to step on him or take his territory. I don't know, but he certainly seems to be much more of a wild card this season.
But where it gets interesting, and I don't think anybody's paying enough attention to it, folks have to make up their mind. I don't think there's credence and credibility to this argument, but others have to make up their mind. 1 minute you're saying, not you, Max, but 1 minute people are saying, well, you know what, they just go out there and ball. Another minute we'll look at things and we'll think about conspiracy, and we'll think about calls that go certain ways and calls that don't happen, or whatever the case may be, to prolong a series. Like how I felt when the NBA suspended Draymond Green for Game 5 of the NBA Finals, giving LeBron James what I call the stimulus package. I mean, I still get disgusted with that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for saying that, because it's the absolute truth. Like I've stated already, these people that want to run around talking about LeBron this and LeBron that, LeBron James is the Wilt Chamberlain of this era. That's what he is. He's a top 10 all-time great NBA player. But the man has won 3 titles, and you could look at 2 of his titles, and it's not even like, well, LeBron won 3 and 2 of them could have went either way. Like, he won 3 and 2 of them he should not have even won. Like, like literally. And, I know his fans, his quote-unquote stans or whatever, they're going to get upset. What they call them, bronze sexuals, I don't give a shit. It is what it is. The truth is the truth. But he is one of the top 10 all-time great players. There's no doubt about that.
Well, why is that relevant? Because what may transpire is that if we see that we can rattle you, that we can get you emotional, that you can say or do something that can get you a technical foul or 2, make situations tight and what have you. Those are the kind of things. I'm not thinking about players, but I'm thinking about officiating. I'm thinking about you getting yourself in trouble.
Even better, Stephen A. It
But
makes
that's why
it even better, because if they were
So
simply...
it makes the competition better.
Yes.
What I'm saying to you is that we asked whether or not it's good for the Warriors. I'm saying to you, if you're talking about competition and what we got to watch, it's more interesting
But they
to
can
watch.
hurt themselves. That's
it
the
makes
concern.
me worried about. I'm going to find myself watching and going like this. Look, Draymond, you need to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not your job. You're not a coach. You're not the GM for the Warriors. Your job is to watch the game and come in the next morning and talk shit. At one time, it was your job to watch the game and type shit. Now it's your job to talk shit. So you're not supposed to be rooting for anyone. So that attempt at a point is invalid, sir.
Be cool, KD. Be cool. Don't get thrown out of here.
Now it's
Look,
not just Draymond you're worried about.
Look, when they beat the Cavs in 6 when the Cavs had no one but LeBron, and then they lost to the Cavs in 7 when they won 73 games.
You know, people keep talking about that, and I get people who come on my channel say the same thing. Oh, well, you forget that LeBron didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love in the finals against the Warriors. The Warriors were not even supposed to be there. They weren't even supposed to be there. Nobody thought that the Warriors were going to go to the finals in 2015. The Cavaliers were up 2-1 with Game 4 in their place, and they were unable to get the job done against a young team with Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, who had never been anywhere near the finals. This was a team in the Golden State Warriors who the farthest that they had been before then was in 2013. I believe they got to the second round. All of a sudden, they get Steve Kerr and they go to the finals. LeBron is supposed to find a way to win that Game 4 in Cleveland. That's what he's supposed to do. They go up 3-1, and you put the onus on the Warriors to have to win 3 straight. He failed. Period. I don't want to hear all this nonsense. They didn't have Kyrie and they didn't have Kevin Love. They were going against neophytes in the Golden State Warriors in 2015. Neophytes.
It was just a Draymond issue, right? In terms of like he got himself suspended basically, and maybe that changed the series. I'm not convinced it did. Like, I don't know how that series did. But let's say it's certainly in a very, 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 very close series, a 1-possession Game 7 series, something like that could tip it. Now you have another guy that added to the mix like that in Kevin Durant. But did that make them better or worse? It certainly made them better, so we know KD is good for them.
I think that Golden State is better for the postseason now with KD. I think regular season wise, they're not as good as they were before they had KD. I think that before they had KD, they were much more focused because they knew that their margin of error was smaller. I think that Curry was better because Curry knew that he had carte blanche to take whatever shot he wanted. Now, him and Kevin Durant, they kind of play your turn, my turn, or whoever's hot. Before that, in the 2015-2016 season, Curry had carte blanche, and he was hot basically almost every game. That season that he had that year was one of the best seasons I've seen any player have since I've been watching basketball. That's one of the top 5 seasons I've probably seen any player have. When I think of those seasons, I think Shaq in 99, 2000, LeBron, those back-to-back seasons in 2013 and 2014, Jordan in 91, and then you throw Curry's season right up in there. And no, for the Kobe fans, no, I do not throw Kobe's 35-point per game in there. Sorry, no. Okay? So please don't ask me. He spent that season jacking up shots. The man shot 44% from the field that year. I don't want to hear about any bullshit about, what about the year Kobe had 35 a game? You hating? No, I don't want to hear that shit. All right? Those are the best seasons that I can remember off the bat. Jordan in 91. Jordan in 91, Shaq in 99, 2000, LeBron in 2013 and 2014, and Curry in 2016. Those were the best regular seasons I've seen any players have. I will put Kevin Durant's 2014 season over Kobe's 2006 season. To be honest with you, Kevin Durant's season is right up in there as well.
And it also made them more interesting. So we know KD is good for them and for all of us who follow basketball.
And I'm saying to you is that if...
And let me give honorable mention to Iverson's 2001 season before one of his fanboys come on here and want to go back and forth. Yeah, I would throw his season in there because he carried the team and they got to the finals. They were winning. In 2006, the Lakers were carried by Kobe. There's no doubt about that. But they couldn't even get out the first round. I know they're going to say, well, he didn't have any help. Yeah, well, hey, it's no problem. He just is not that. That season was a great season, but that was a stat accumulative season for him because he took so many shots and he only made 45% from the field. Iverson, of course, is renowned for not shooting a high percentage, but he's 6 feet and his team was very successful.
If the question was, is it good for basketball, I'd be right there with you. But the question was whether or not it was good for the Warriors. And I'm saying to you that if I'm Kevin Durant, listen, think about this for a second. Let's take a step back. Let's go street. I'm going to go street on you right now. Because I played West 4th Street, Rutgers Park, all of this other places, right?
You rode the bench at West 4th and Rutgers Park. Your ass was sitting on a park bench, Stephen A. Just knock it off.
This is right.
How'd you do with the Rutgers?
I did all right.
Did all right at the Rucker?
I did all right. I especially when they played some of these city colleges, I averaged like 25 one summer. Here's the deal. Forget
25 minutes, 25 shots, 25 splinters in your ass. Which one, Stephen A?
Forget all of that, because I wasn't on their level. I wasn't on Mark Jackson's level and Ron Strickland's level and Dwayne Pearl Washington, God rest his soul. No,
All right,
they weren't
stay
in the
focused,
class.
guys.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Molly. Stay focused, because nobody wants to hear about how your whack ass did in some damn Rucker Park game.
I'm staying focused. Here's the point. A cat like Kevin Durant rolls up into there, and I hope Kevin Durant is watching. Here's the deal. A cat like Kevin Durant rolls in the park. He's 6'11", 7'6" wingspan.
Pull up from 30.
Handle, can shoot from anywhere, is a scoring machine. But he's skinny. You know what you're thinking? I gotta do something to this brother to slow him down. I gotta do something to impede his level of excellence and progress. And so what happens is, when you do that, ultimately the game gets physical. If the officials don't call it, but Kevin Durant and others are getting emotional to the point that they didn't in years past, now you got a problem. That's what I'm saying.
Here's the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
There is no universe in which the Warriors could sign Durant and not be hated. I don't care if they're all choir boys. I don't care what they do. People will hate on them. It's human nature when a team gets that good and you feel
That good for that long. And the other fans around the league feel like their teams don't have a chance. They'll create a narrative in their head that the Warriors are stacking the chips, even though they only added one player. You have to fault your team for not drafting properly and also not having the allure to bring in a big name free agent. That's how that goes. And in the NBA, once again, the NBA is evaluated via eras, just like every other sport. In the 60s, you had the Celtics. In the 70s, it was kind of a wasteland where the NBA was trying to figure out what to do. Unfortunately for them, they had drug issues that trickled into the 80s. But Magic and Bird ushered in the modern era of the NBA. The 80s, you had the Lakers and the Celtics, a little bit of the Pistons. The 90s, of course, was Chicago. The 2000s, you had the Lakers who bookended the decade, as well as the Spurs sprinkled in the middle there. And now in the 2010s, this is basically the half LeBron, half Golden State era. The 2010s is really just a proving ground to see who's going to be considered the greatest winning player of the era. Is it going to be LeBron or is it going to be Steph Curry? A lot of people don't realize that was the source of a lot of the antipathy that LeBron showed Steph Curry towards the latter part of the 2016 finals. He knew that. He knew that if we lose this series, not only are they going to crown Steph Curry the best player in the NBA, but this is going to be his era. I have to win this game. And the verdict is still out because there's still 2 more years left in this decade. So whoever wins these last 2 championships, the majority of them, is going to be considered the winningest player of the decade, and it's going to go hand in hand with how they evaluate it down the line. Do I think that Steph Curry will ever be considered a greater player than LeBron James? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, people are going to look in the record books. If the Golden State Warriors win this year and next year, they're going to say Steph Curry won 4 championships in the 2010s and 2 regular season MVPs.
feel like they stack the deck because then they bring someone else in who's even better than everyone they have. So it's unavoidable. They will be hated. So now, really, if we're just strictly
Not about being hated, it's about by who.
Okay, but by the refs. What I'm saying is, if we just take that, because you're comparing Kevin Durant to some ideal version of himself. Let's talk reality, right?
That is reality.
You want to add Kevin Durant, warts and all, or do you not want to have Kevin Durant? It is better for the Warriors to add Kevin Durant.
Agreed, particularly in big moments, in the playoffs, in the finals. You have a 7-footer who can score from anywhere on the court.
It makes them a better team. It makes them more likely to win.
Better for the league.
But my point is, once you do that, the whole world's going to hate you. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, but listen, what I'm trying to say to you, Max, it's not an accident that this comment is coming from him now.
And not only is it not an accident, but I think that Max Kellerman's assertion that the Warriors are hated because they signed Kevin Durant is untrue. It's really groundless. As I already stated, the Warriors started to receive hate towards the latter part of the 2016 regular season, when they started to appear to those who were outside of the bubble of Golden State. They were not fans of the team. They appeared to become very, very quote-unquote cocky. And you'll oftentimes see people use that excuse for why they dislike someone. It's really just to cover their own envy. They'll say that you're so arrogant, you're so cocky, what have you. I think that Golden State, for the most part, was just, exalting in their dominance. That's natural. But that's where a lot of the quote-unquote hatred or enmity for the team comes from. And I think that Durant did amplify it. I would agree with that if that was Kellerman's sentiment, but it's not. He's basically stating that the genesis of the hate for the team is when Durant was signed, and that's not true.
He went last year. If anybody was going to hate on them, it was nothing compared to what it was last year.
Yeah.
You didn't hear this kind of stuff at that particular moment in time. So what I'm
He's
saying,
getting it for 2 years now.
No, it's not about that. But there's nothing like it was last year. Last year was
he's
a
not
different
getting it
beast.
because the
Listen,
move now.
Max, last year was so bad. Last year you had basketball aficionados like myself who didn't even want to watch the game because we understood the conclusion. This year is different. Why would you feel the need to make that statement now? Because it's a little bit harder this year because things are not. I'm not saying they were not winning games, but when you think about the officiating, Kevin Durant got ejected. Steph Curry has been ejected.
Well, Kevin Durant's been ejected multiple times. That's why I say that it bears watching him and Draymond Green. Because, I'm sorry, a leopard does not change his spots. Once certain conduct becomes part of who you are, becomes habitual, it is going to erupt. And you cannot control when it erupts. That, once again, to me, is why Steve Kerr is so frustrated and why he will leave this team either at the end of this season or the end of next season. His statements, his words, his chidings are no longer having an effect on the team. He is, quote unquote, losing the team in coach speak.
LeBron James got ejected for the first time.
We're talking about a whole league-wide issue now.
I'm just saying we're looking at it from the set. That's why you
All right,
have
guys,
something
last
to be
comment here.
concerned.
To be quite frank with you, I think that the refs are getting tired of the players and their entitled bullshit. All the cursing and carrying on, the incredulity at obvious fouls. Like you see them on replay, guys slapping the hell out of another player's elbow and then looking incredulously as to why they got called for a foul. Like, you lose all credibility when you do that. So I don't blame the refs from that standpoint.
About.
All I'll say is this. KD dealt with it last year. It was more intense. Now he's been dealing with it for a long time. The trend in KD's career has been increasingly he speaks his mind and he gets
no problem.
more interesting. The Warriors are more
I don't find KD interesting. I'm sorry. I've never heard him say something that made me go, okay. Never once. None against him. I think Kyrie is interesting as a person. He's probably the only player in the NBA that I think is interesting or that says things that are interesting as a person. I don't think any of these other guys are interesting. Certainly not Kevin Durant. He's just a big mama's boy. But, I think that he's trying to feel his way into manhood, and I don't begrudge him that. I wish the brother nothing but the best.
are more interesting. The Warriors are better with Durant than without him, and the league is more interesting.
I wish it got a little more interesting. All right, much more.
Don't worry about it, Molly. Just worry about keeping Jalen interested, okay? But anyway, once again, please watch for those two ticking time bombs. Kevin Durant and Draymond Green to explode sometime near the postseason or in the postseason, and it may possibly cost the Warriors a title. Anyway, peace.